Speaking of aircraft,
Aw, dang. We're going to be talking about space travel. That's right. Not in the air, but in space. NASA tests impossible no-fuel quantum space engine, and it actually works!
that's what they say on 2014 by Graham Templeton.
On extremetech.com.
That's right.
Oh my god.
What a nice picture of a
Dude,
ship.
the picture of this ship, that looks awesome.
It's fake, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if we have one of these, like, for our travel to Mars, that'd be pretty swag. Gotta say.
Imagine if this was real, right? Look at the ship. Look how it's like it looks like a normal like kind of shuttle, but the front it's like it squashes into like a UFO shape.
I know they always want to give them kind of like windows to be like, yeah, this would be cool looking, but you know, like it'd probably be really bad idea to have glass there, because if you ever got hit by some kind of debris, it would just shoot right through the glass.
I feel like it's just about as strong as the metal itself, though.
I think you would probably just have monitors that would show you what's going on the outside of the ship.
What if the power went out?
Well, then you're screwed either way. Like, you look outside, but oh well.
Sometimes when, your systems are down, you need to glider in at your own discretion.
I don't know.
Like in the movies.
I'm not much of a space expert, so let's read what they have to say about space.
Well, you're in luck because I actually am.
Oh my god, a math expert, space expert. What was it? History.
Not to brag or anything. I kind of made space.
Oh wow, that's pretty.
And I know all these space
good to put
experts
on the resume. I gotta say.
I know what all these space experts at home are thinking. Space is like the absence of material. Exactly.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Anyone could make space.
We're all
I
gonna
just did
agree
it
on
first.
this, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna nod my head.
By breathing in, I'm making space. It's just being filled really quickly.
Oh my god, you're exploding my mind right now. A study conducted last year by NASA scientists has become the latest and by far the highest profile piece of evidence in favor of a seemingly impossible space thruster design that's been invoking worldwide skepticism for some time now. Apparently annoyed by the persistent boosters of several similar but distinct designs, the space agency finally agreed to test the American-made variant called the Kenai Drive. Alright, they said. We'll test your stupid drive that won't work. Except it did work, seemingly in contravention of the law of conservation of momentum. The team confirmed the device produces thrust by using electricity and nothing else. Supporters call them microwave thrusters or quantum vacuum plasma thrusters, or QVPT for short, while most others use the phrase anomalous thrust device. Because, the other people are androids.
That's weird. First, the results of NASA's experiment, since that's all the team itself wants you to be talking about.
Right.
Seemingly wanting to avoid unproductive controversy about the nature of existence. They've totally ignored the question of how the drive works, in favor of simply reporting the data. With controls in place to avoid any confounding forces or variables, the NASA team recorded a reliable thrust between 30 and 50 micronewtons, less than a thousandth of the output of some relatively low-powered ion thrusters in use today. Still, the ion thrusters require fuel to operate, and the original QVPT inventor claims the version NASA tested is flawed, leading them to collect far lower thrust readings than the original can provide.
Here's a picture of it.
Brass.
It looks really old, from the 60s old. This is an older version of the QVPT than the one NASA tested, though it can still produce more thrust.
I want to put a trumpet nozzle on the end, a mouthpiece, and just blow into it.
Just blow and see what kind of noise
it looks like a brass
makes.
instrument in a way, with a lot of bolts.
If confirmed, the practical upshot of this technology would be amazing. Solar panels could provide the electricity needed to keep the thruster working, meaning that propulsion would be low thrust and long term with virtually no associated cost. That would not only drastically reduce the cost of keeping satellites running and in orbit, but it could make interstellar travel much easier. Harold White of the Warp Drive fame predicted that a beefed up version of the QVPT could reach Proxima Centauri in about 30 years, assuming the concept actually works at all.
Neat.
So I'm guessing they're thinking that the longer it's running, the faster it will propel itself.
Oh yeah, well in space there's, I mean, you get rid of gravity and friction and stuff, and eventually like you just keep propelling yourself. You go faster and faster.
Right.
Assumedly, I'm not an astrophysicist, but I did make space, so
Right.
You
yeah,
can
I
trust
mean,
me.
you would be an expert there.
let's not get ahead of ourselves here. While NASA might not want to talk about it, though, for us it's worth discussing just how this drive's creators hypothesized the thrusters works. By now, most people are aware that the laws of classical physics tend to break down at the quantum scale, and exploring that fact can give you interesting little physical impossibilities, like infinitely accelerating negative mass photons. Yeah. However, the effects of these quantum scale impossibilities have always stayed at the quantum scale. Sure, one atom could theoretically phase shift through another, but we still can't run through walls.
Oh man, we don't have the cheat codes.
It's left, up, down, up, B, A, B, 2221, start.
Shh, you're gonna give the secret of the universe.
Or you just type in /noclip into the console commands.
Right. The central insight here, assuming this isn't all a big mistake, is that something called the quantum vacuum fluctuations will occasionally spontaneously create particles all throughout the vacuum of space, and that these short-lived particles can be put to useful work. Thus, this thruster actually does use fuel. It just finds and uses that fuel as it goes. The thruster essentially turns these virtual particles into a plasma that expels them out the back of the ship. Much like a conventional fuel source, the quantum fuel, though spontaneously appears inside the thruster's reaction area without even the need for collection or injection hardware. All things considered, that's more than a little exciting.
There's plasma in you and
It
me.
creates its own fuel. Oh my
It creates
God.
its own plasma.
Oh my God.
Ion thrusters are
Dude,
another
now we can make
low-powered
our own
solution.
plasma guns.
I mean, you want to make that?
Well, I am American, so, I'm thinking about any kind of technology being used as a weapon. That'd just be pretty sweet.
In that case, I think I can use plasma to cure wounds. You just
Yeah.
shoot it right into the wound and it cures you.
Yeah, right?
You gotta finagle it with a bit of science, but the concept's there.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sure.
the only way to test it is to shoot it at somebody and see
Only
what
way
happens.
to test it is to test it on humans.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're in agreement. The original design, called the EM drive, by creator Roger Scheuer, Roger Scheuer, Shawer, should get significantly more attention in the coming months, which ought to feel good given the long struggles he's had with professional apathy and skepticism. As mentioned, the version tested by NASA is distinct from the EM drive, but they think it still makes use of quantum vacuum particles as a propellant. There are very preliminary plans to test a version of the drive in space, but such orbital work is expensive. Now it might finally have the juice to warrant such a plan.
Yeah. I remember seeing something about this drive, I think 10, 15 years ago when they first brought it up. And a guy, designed it, and they didn't know how it worked, and they didn't know how to get it to work. So I'm guessing that after years, they were finally able to figure out how to get this.
You know what I'm wondering?
Work.
How is it doing today? Let's see. Okay, this one's from 2019. NASA's EM drive. Here we go. It's an updated one. I'm not going to read it. We're just going to see what's happening with the EM drive.
White will also be conducting research that grows out of his work at NASA on the EM drive, a so-called impossible engine that produces thrust without propellant by bouncing radio waves around the metal cone.
That's
the
not
EM
what I heard.
drive test device used by White and his colleagues was a copper.
Frustrum.
So it wasn't brass, it was copper. A cone
Like
with
copper.
the top lopped off, and it was just under a foot long. During tests, it was placed in a vacuum chamber, and a device outside chamber sent microwaves and antennas inside the cone. How those microwaves generate thrust inside the cone is a subject of device theoretical debate.
Let's go
So
to
they're
the
just
bottom.
they're doing more tests to see
They're
what it can
testing.
use.
Well, at least they're still testing.
Still testing it.
That's all.
You know
that's
what?
all
We're
I
gonna
really
find
read
out in
here.
a few years.
It's a
that,
lot
like,
of paragraphs.
They're gonna find out in a few years that the military has just been using this forever, and they're just using a older version on this to be like, yeah, we're still testing it, but all along they've had it.
I can't remember if this is real, but I remember an old video from when I was a child I saw on TV. It was like distant video camera of a flying car that ran on water. It was
Oh,
like one
yeah?
of those conspiracy things, but it's like this is footage from the testing area of Area 51, and they showed like a car like boosting off the ground, and it's like it runs on water and this and that. I have no idea how legit it is, but
I remember seeing a thing like 12 years ago where a guy was getting an engine to run on salt water, but that was like 12 years ago.
I wonder if
So
that.
who knows? Who knows where it is now? But maybe that's something we can look up next time on the Folklore Scrolls.
Actual flying cars.
Yeah.
I'd like
More
or
conspiracy theories.
alternate fuel.
Or if y'all have anything to suggest, go ahead and comment down below. I'll let you later.
Goodbye.